Howdy pards, MrHolster here. Just having some coffee in the tackroom, trying to warm up because it's cold outside. It's somewhere between -13 and -17. I didn't have the guts to actually look at the thermometer. So, the thermometer on the front porch, which is not a very accurate reading, was saying it was -13, which means it's colder than that. So, and I just, at some point you just don't want to know, because it's a psychological thing. If you don't know, once you get below like 5 below zero, if the wind doesn't blow, you could be 20 below zero. It isn't any different, right? So, I've been thinking though, I do that now and then, not very often, but I've been thinking what might be fun, so I'm going to do this, is to go down to the shooting range and do a shooting video when it gets really cold this week, because it's supposed to get cold. So it gets to like -20 or whatever, is to go down and do a shooting video and see how many shots I can get off before I run screaming back to the buildings. Which I think I might do that. Just for yucks, I might do that. So we'll see. I say these things, but then I have to fill the water tank or something, and the wind's blowing, and I go, "Boy, I'm glad I didn't do that. That was a stupid idea. I can't even get this tank filled. I'm freezing to death." But I don't know. We'll see. It's tough. It's tough on the animals, but not the big animals as much as the dogs. It's tougher on the dogs than it is the horses and the cattle, I think. And little Jack, I showed you Jack in that one video, and I mean, that guy, he knows what he's doing, man. He's got his spots. He goes out, he hits them, does his business, comes back to the other door, and in he comes. And then Maya, little Maya, you met her too, the cattle dog, the Pembroke Welsh Corgi. If she gets, sometimes, honest to God, she doesn't even get out the door. She gets out, turns around, and does it right there on the step with her head still in the building and comes back in. Which really annoys me when she does that. But, she's so low to the ground that I can't imagine. You think about yourself going out there with little tiny short legs and no clothing and dragging on the ice when it's 20 degrees below zero. You got to have a little sympathy for her. And of course, the German Shepherd, she doesn't even notice it's cold, which is funny. But that's a little bit about the dogs that has nothing to do with anything. Today, right now, we have. Just give me one more sip. You come in and it takes you like 45 minutes. You start warming up on the outside, but you're still freezing inside. So today we have an antique gun for a change. A little Hopkins and Allen pocket pistol. This is a nickel-plated, and it's pretty clean considering it was built in 1898. And it's got a few little rust spots popping up here and there, but that is a long time for nickel-plated. And I've had a lot of not a lot. I've had 3 nickel-plated guns in my life. One being a single-action Army, the other one being a reproduction of an 1851 with a Mason conversion on it, and in 38. And I had the first, back in the day, like 1990 sometime period. Smith & Wesson brought out their version of the old Centennial, which was the 640 in stainless steel. A great gun. And they actually made a 940 and a 9mm. That was a great gun. Had both of them. And then I got rid of them foolishly. I should have kept the 9mm because they're quite collectible at this point. But I didn't, because they brought out the 642 with the aluminum frame. And it's just so much lighter. I sold those, and I got a couple of those. Well, yeah, actually I got one. And got rid of I traded the 38 for the aluminum frame, and then I ended up trading the 940 because it just didn't get used for something else. I can't even tell you. I think it was a Glock, though. I think I traded that on a Glock. But at any rate, it's hard to remember. It's almost 30 years ago. So at any rate, where was I now? You see, this is what happens. I start talking. Oh, so anyway, I had a 642, and the first ones that came out, they weren't like they are now. They have some sort of anodized finish on the aluminum, which, I can't clean the gun on the current one without that finish coming right off. It's not real stellar, but I like it better than the original finish, which was a nickel plated. It was a nickel plating. It looked similar because it wasn't shiny, but it was a nickel plating on that gun, and that thing peeled on me. Started peeling on me and it's me. It's not the gun. I'm positive it's me because I probably get too much oil on it, and I shouldn't put any oil on the nickel plating, and I probably was getting oil on it because I just, it's me, I'm sure. But so I just stay away from nickel plated guns because I just, it's me. I don't do it right, and I can never get it into my mind, and I always catch myself after I've slathered oil all over. Oh, geez, you're not supposed to put oil on a nickel plated gun. I go, God dang it. And so it's just me. I finally decided that I just should not own nickel-plated guns, so I don't. But I got this one, because this is an antique. And back in the late 1800s, Smith & Wesson came out with a gun quite similar to this, and they also made a hammerless version called the Safety Special, I think. Or, see, now I'm getting out there now. Safety hammerless. The Smith & Wesson Safety hammerless. Quite similar, except for the hammer was enclosed inside the frame, and that was a real popular gun, so a lot of manufacturers cloned them or knocked them off like this, and this was like half the price of the Smith & Wesson. And you had, along with this, you had the bicycle company, Ivers Johnson Cycle. Ivers Johnson Cycle Company made them, and Hopkins and Allen, and I'm sure there's other ones that elude me at this point, but very popular. These are very, very popular. The pocket pistols were, and if you've ever seen this movie, and I won't tell you the name of the movie, I'll let you guess it, and the person that guesses it gets you don't get a prize because we don't have a prize, but if we had a prize, you'd get a prize, but you'll be the one to say, hey, I got it. The gentleman gets down, he's talking to the little kid, and he goes, "This, Samuel, is a gentleman's gun. That's what you want when you grow up, isn't it?" Right before he gets shot. If you can tell me what that movie was, you won't win a prize, but you'll have bragging rights. You'll have bragging rights to that. So at any rate, this gun, they came in 38s and 32s, what were known as, and they're black powder guns, the 38 Smith & Wesson, or 32 Smith & Wesson, which is quite smaller than a 38 Special. Matter of fact, I got a 38 Special. I'll show you. Right there. Here's a 38 Special, and here's the 38 Smith & Wesson. And black powder cartridge, you can see this is quite a bit smaller and is going to be quite a bit anemic compared to a 38 Special coming out of this gun, but nonetheless quite effective because back then they didn't have very good medical attention. Hospitals, doctors were not as advanced as they are nowadays, and back then, of course, you don't want to get shot now, but back then you really didn't want to get shot because it's kind of like a crapshoot whether you're going to make it or not. Because the doctors are just going to come along and start shoving stuff in you, trying to probe around for the bullet to get it out of there. That's about all they can do. And they probably are going to do it with something that hasn't been sterilized and sturdy. So, these guns did the job in the end. It may not be a man stopper, but they probably killed a lot of people. So, at any rate, this gun is a Topbreak. And as you can see, and I kind of like these old guns with these tiny sights. We're getting so fixated on having the sights with the optic sight and the night sight inside it, and they're getting really big. And it's kind of nice to the old guns with the tiny little sights. This is a pocket gun. It's going to go in your pockets. You don't want to have anything to snag on. So the sights being really small are an advantage. And here's the rear sight right here. You can see it protrudes very little, and of course you just got a brass blade front sight pinned into the barrel. And of course it's nickel plated, so you can't see the brass part of it. And we're assuming it's brass. Most of them were brass back then. This little lever back here, this catch, you push up on it and it opens up the gun. You push down on the barrel and it ejects the cartridges. All in one motion, you can eject the cartridges and then you can reload. You know, with a speed loader nowadays, a gun like this would actually be pretty handy. But I don't think you'll ever see that, probably because the frame being a top break like that is going to be kind of weak, and probably in a 38 special you could do it, but if somebody put plus P's in there, it'd probably not be very safe. So that's probably why nobody's making them, although quite similar to a Schofield, and they're making reproduction Schofields in 45. So I don't know, maybe it is doable. It would be, I would buy one of those because it would be just a neat gun. A current production with good quality current metal in a gun like this would just be so neat. But you know, I'd be like, they'd build it and I'd be the only one standing in line probably to buy it, so they'd go bankrupt. But I'd get my gun, but then I'd never be able to get parts for it because they would bankrupt. Speaking of going bankrupt, this company, Hopkins and Allen, they had a contract in 1916 to build Mauser rifles, a big contract for Belgium. And before they could ship the rifles, Belgium got taken over by Germany, and this company went bankrupt because of it. Because of World War I, Germany invaded Belgium and took it over before they could fill the contract and ship it out. So they went bankrupt because of that. And that was the end of that. So, but a lot of little pocket pistols like this out there, and of course they're so old, you got to go to a gunsmith and have them look at it before you shoot it to make sure the thing's shootable. I'm going to tell you that right up front, because I would be willing to bet there's an awful lot of them out there that are not safe to shoot. So, thought I'd share that with you today, guys. This little pocket pistol, and yeah, it's a neat little gun. Thought I'd share it. I'm thinking back on, you know, when the 640 came out, back to that 940. You know, I go off on these things, but I was laughing because I just thought about, I had a friend who had this security company, and of course this was the Clinton administration time period where they got the Brady bill passed, and he had all his people were equipped with Beretta 92s, high capacity 15 round mags, right? Well, after the bill went through, instead of just, if he was worried about liability and the issue of having these, which the liability is just off the charts anyways if you got a security company with armed security personnel, so who cares? But he was so concerned about this is what he did. He traded all those guns for Smith & Wesson 940s, and that's what all his guys were carrying, Smith & Wesson 940s. 9mm version of basically the current 642, only in stainless steel, all stainless steel. Same identical gun as the current 642, same size barrel, 1 7/8 inch barrel. Really the same identical gun, only it shot 5 rounds of 9mm on a moon clip. And actually worked quite nice. I had one of those, and I wish I would have kept it, which I said. But yeah, I'm laughing because he equipped his entire security force with these guns because he was so paranoid about the ban. And of course, the magazines he already had were legal because they were grandfathered in. But he was so worried about the perceived image, if anything ever happened, they ever had a lawsuit, they're ever in court, that the image he was presenting, because his people had firearms that had been banned by the Brady bill, the Clinton assault weapons ban, I guess is what they're really calling it. Brady bill was tied in with that somewhere, but anyway, he was so worried about that he sold all those guns and replaced them with 940s, which I'm laughing about that right now. Especially laughing because I remember one night he was working at this bar, and he had doing a security detail at this bar, and it was like it was more of a nightclub than a bar. It was a nightclub. It was like this wasn't the disco era, but it was like that kind of thing. And some guy, and well, I guess I don't want to get any. We won't say what ethnic. Well, I guess what do we care? I'm just reporting what happened, right? So there was this Hmong individual, because this was in a predominantly Hmong area, and my buddy that owned the thing, he was a fairly stout, big. Stout. He was he was a little shorter, but he was stout, big, strong, black guy. Yeah, he actually wasn't that short. I just, I'm a little on the tall side in relative terms. I say short, but most people, he's like average 5'11", probably 5'10", 5'11". So at any rate, and I'm laughing because the guy shot him. The guy pulled a gun on the dance floor. This happened on the dance floor, and the guy pulled the gun and shot him while he tried to take the gun away from the guy. The guy shot him in the ass. And as a result, he got really mad, pulled out his ass baton, and took the guy down by sweeping behind his legs, and the guy went down, and that was the end of it. And the police showed up and said, "Oh, Billy, why didn't you use your gun?" I didn't need to. Said, but it pisses me off. He shot me in the ass. And I laugh about that, as it's funny. It was just funny. At any rate, but yeah, he had everybody carrying those guns, which yeah, they were good guns. I shouldn't poo-poo them. They were good guns. And at any rate, in any situation they'd ever use a gun would be close up and personal anyways. They really didn't need to have as big a gun as a 92. So there you have it, guys. That's your coffee in the tack room for the day. And thanks for tuning in. I've wasted 17 minutes and 18 seconds of your life you'll never, ever, ever get back again. And as you get older, the minutes get more precious, and you want to do with them what you want to do. Because let's face it, guys, if you think back upon your life, most of your time has probably been occupied by other people telling you what to do. If you're like me, that's the way it is, or was. So, thank you very much for sharing 17 minutes and 45 seconds of your life with me. That's very nice of you. Thanks for tuning in, guys. If you like my channel, please subscribe. Till next time, go out and stay safe.